The high-layer Empire scout vessel Dominance emerged from the darkness of space, its massive hull gleaming under the light of an unfamiliar star. Commander Take stood on the bridge, his tall frame silhouetted against the viewscreen that displayed the small human vessel they had detected. He ran a hand over his scaled chin, contemplating the unexpected discovery. "What is a human ship doing this far into uncharted territory?" he asked, his voice deep and measured. His first officer, Officer Han, studied the sensor readings. "It appears to be an exploration vessel, Commander. Small crew complement. Minimal weapons systems. Standard propulsion." Take's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among the high-layer. For centuries, the Empire had expanded without meaningful resistance. New species were either subjugated or destroyed, their technologies claimed for the greater glory of high-layer. These humans were newcomers to interstellar travel, barely a century into their expansion beyond their home system. "Prepare boarding parties," Take ordered. "This will be a simple acquisition. The Emperor will be pleased to examine human technology firsthand." Aboard the CSV Defiance, Captain Park Ji-won sensed something was wrong even before the alarm sounded. She had been exploring space for 15 years, and her instincts had saved her crew more than once. Today, those instincts screamed danger. "Unknown vessel approaching, Captain," reported Lieutenant Kim Dae-ho from Tactical. His fingers moved quickly over the console. "It's massive. Nothing like this in our databases." Park moved to the center of the bridge. "Open all communication channels. Standard first contact protocols." Communications Officer Bay nodded. "Transmitting peaceful intentions on all frequencies, Captain." The bridge crew watched as the alien vessel grew larger on their viewscreen. The Defiance was on a routine survey mission, mapping uncharted space beyond the Arcturus sector. They hadn't expected to encounter any advanced civilizations in this region. "No response to our transmissions," Bay said, tension evident in her voice. "They're scanning us." Kim suddenly straightened in his chair. "Captain! They're powering weapons." Park didn't hesitate. "Shields up. Evasive maneuvers." The Defiance lurched as its engines pushed the ship into a defensive pattern, but the human vessel was a small star surveyor, not designed for combat maneuvers. The first blast from the high-layer ship struck their propulsion system, sending shock waves through the hull. "Main engines damaged," reported Navigator O from his station. "We're losing power to decks 3 through 7. Park gripped the arms of her command chair. "Return fire." The Defiance's conventional weapons systems activated, sending several energy pulses toward the high-layer vessel. They dissipated harmlessly against the alien ship's shields. On the Dominance, Commander Take laughed. "Their weapons are primitive. They can barely scratch our outer barriers." Officer Han nodded in agreement. "This will be over quickly." The high-layer vessel fired again, this time targeting the human ship's communication array. The blast tore through the outer hull of the Defiance, venting atmosphere into space before emergency force fields contained the breach. "Casualties reported on Deck 5, Medical Officer Song's voice came through the intercom. "Emergency teams responding." Park knew they couldn't win a conventional battle. But the Defiance wasn't entirely what it appeared to be. Beneath its conventional exterior lay systems that humanity had kept secret from the galactic community. "They've left us no choice," Park said grimly. "Chief Engineer Choi, status of the Aegis system?" Engineer Choi Eun-ha's voice came through the comm. "Aegis is operational, Captain, but activating it will reveal capabilities we've been ordered to keep classified." "We won't have any secrets if we're dead," Park replied. "Activate Aegis defense protocols. All crew to battle stations." Deep within the ship, hidden components began to power up as Choi entered her authorization codes. The conventional hull configuration of the Defiance began to shift subtly, revealing weapon ports that hadn't been visible before. On the Dominance, the sensor officer suddenly stood. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual power signatures from the human vessel. Their energy output is increasing exponentially." Take frowned. "Impossible. Our intelligence indicates human ships have limited reactor capacity. Boarding parties ready, Commander, reported the tactical officer. Launch immediately, take ordered. Capture their bridge crew alive. Kill anyone who resists. But as the high-layer boarding shuttles approached the Defiance, they encountered something unexpected. A shimmering energy field expanded around the human vessel, unlike any shield technology the high-layer had encountered before. The first boarding shuttle exploded upon contact with the field. The second veered away too late and suffered the same fate. The remaining shuttles halted their approach. What is this? Take demanded, rising from his command chair. This vessel should not have such defenses. Captain Park watched the destroyed alien shuttles on her viewscreen. Target their weapons systems, she ordered. Let's show them they've picked the wrong ship to attack. The remaining high-layer boarding shuttles regrouped at a safe distance from the Defiance's unexpected energy field. Commander Tate glared at the viewscreen, his reptilian features hardening with anger. How does a simple exploration vessel possess such technology, he demanded. No one on his bridge had an answer. Sir, 2 of our shuttles are requesting emergency docking. They managed to attach to the human vessel before the shield activated, reported his tactical officer. Tate nodded. Perhaps this mission can be salvaged after all. Inside the Defiance, emergency lighting bathed the corridors in a red glow. Captain Park moved quickly through the ship, checking on her crew as she made her way to engineering. The ship shuddered as another high-layer blast struck their shields. Aegis holding at 70%, Lieutenant Kim reported through her communicator. But it won't last forever against their weapons. Park reached the engine room where Engineer Choi worked frantically at her station. Diagnostic displays showed the ship's unusual internal structure, layers of technology hidden beneath conventional designs. The high-layer breached our hull in sections 12 and 14 before Aegis activated, Choi explained, wiping sweat from her forehead. Security teams report boarders. Park's expression remained calm, though her eyes revealed her concern. How many? 2 squads. Maybe 20 soldiers total. On the lower decks, Security Officer Khan led his team through the narrow service corridors. They moved silently, carrying weapons far more advanced than standard military issue. The Defiance had been built for this possibility, first contact with a hostile species. Life signs ahead, whispered one of his team members, checking a handheld scanner. 6 aliens moving toward the computer core. Khan signaled his team to take defensive positions. They didn't have to wait long. The aliens rounded the corner, tall, scaled humanoids in armor that seemed to shift colors to match their surroundings. Their weapons were unlike anything Kong had seen before. Intruders located, the lead high-layer soldier reported into his communicator. Moving to secure their data systems. Kong pressed a button on his wrist device. Immediately, panels in the corridor walls slid open, releasing 6 spherical objects that hummed softly as they floated into the air. The high-layer soldiers raised their weapons but hesitated, confused by the strange devices. That moment of hesitation proved costly. The spheres pulsed once, emitting an electromagnetic pulse that targeted the specific frequency of the high-layer armor systems. The aliens staggered as their suits malfunctioned, locking joints and disrupting communications. Now! Kong ordered, and his team opened fire. In engineering, Choi accessed secondary systems that had never been tested in actual combat. Captain, I'm bringing the Autonomous Defense Network online. Do it, Park ordered. And prepare the gravitational array. If we can't escape, we'll make sure the high-layer regret finding us. Throughout the ship, hidden compartments opened in walls and ceilings. Small drone units emerged, some shaped like discs, others like mechanical spiders. They moved with purpose toward the areas where high-layer boarders had been detected. Squad leader Nev led his high-layer soldiers through what appeared to be the human vessel's medical bay. He was an experienced warrior who had participated in dozens of ship captures across 3 star systems. Primitive technology, he commented, examining a surgical bed. The Emperor will not be impressed. A soft clicking sound drew his attention to the ceiling. A small metallic object clung there, its lens-like center focused on him. Before he could react, a dozen more appeared from ventilation shafts and maintenance panels. "Defensive systems," he shouted, raising his weapon. The drones attacked in perfect coordination. Some released targeted electrical charges that disrupted high-layer energy weapons, while others fired precision projectiles that found gaps in their armor. 3 soldiers fell before they could establish a defensive position. On the bridge of the Dominance, Commander Take received increasingly disturbing reports. "Both boarding teams have lost communication, sir," his first officer reported. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the human vessel." Take slammed his fist on the arm of his command chair. "Impossible. Our intelligence indicated human ships possess only basic defensive capabilities." "Sir," his science officer interrupted, "I've completed a deeper scan of the vessel's structure. It appears to be layered. The outer hull configuration is merely a shell. Underneath," he hesitated, "it's unlike any design we have on record." In the Defiance's computer core, Engineer Choi activated the ship's most closely guarded secret and artificial intelligence combat system designated Athena. Unlike basic ship computers, Athena could analyze and adapt to enemy tactics in real time. "Athena online," announced a calm female voice. "Analyzing high-layer weapons signatures and defensive capabilities." Captain Park watched as tactical displays showed the remaining high-layer borders being systematically contained by the ship's defense systems. "Can you access their ship's computer network?" Attempting connection, Athena replied. "Their cybersecurity is advanced but follows predictable patterns." On the high-layer vessel, systems began to malfunction as Athena launched a sophisticated cyber attack. Weapons targeting arrays showed ghost images, shield harmonics fluctuated, and internal communications became unreliable. Commander Take watched in growing horror as his supposedly superior vessel began losing capabilities to what should have been an easy conquest. "Sir," his communications officer called out, voice tinged with alarm, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." Captain Park's face appeared on the Dominance's viewscreen. Despite her ship's damage, she looked composed and resolute. "This is Captain Park G1 of the CSV Defiance," she said calmly. "You attacked without provocation. You may have expected an easy victory against what you thought was a simple exploration vessel. That was your first mistake." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I suggest you recall your remaining boarding parties and withdraw. Otherwise, you'll discover what other surprises my ship has in store." Commander Take paced the bridge of the Dominance, his clawed hands clenched into fists. What had begun as a routine capture operation now threatened his career and reputation. 2 boarding parties lost, systems malfunctioning across his ship, and a human vessel that refused to behave like prey. "Status of our remaining forces on the enemy ship," he demanded. His tactical officer's scaled skin paled slightly. 7 survivors barricaded in their cargo bay. They report being surrounded by automated defense systems they cannot disable. Take hissed in frustration. "Extract them immediately. Prepare our main weapons array." Aboard the Defiance, Captain Park studied the tactical display with Officer Lee Sunho at her side. The high-layer vessel was 3 times their size, bristling with weapons that could tear them apart in a conventional battle. "Aegis shields holding at 43%, Lee reported. "One more concentrated attack will break through." Park nodded, her expression grim but determined. "Then we strike first." "Is the gravitational array ready?" "Charged to maximum capacity," Lee confirmed. "But Captain, it's never been field tested. The power requirements might overload our remaining systems." Park placed a hand on the tactical officer's shoulder. "Sometimes we must take risks to survive, Sunho. Prepare to fire on my command." In engineering, Choi worked frantically, rerouting power from non-essential systems. The ship's experimental gravitational array was their most powerful weapon, a technology humanity had developed in secret, anticipating that they might not be alone in the galaxy. "Athena, run Simulation Alpha 6, Choi requested, her fingers dancing across multiple control panels. The AI's calm voice responded immediately. "Simulation complete. Gravitational array will function at 87% efficiency. Warning, firing will reveal technological capabilities classified under Protocol Omega. Choi wiped sweat from her brow. I think that secret is already out. On the bridge, Park received Choi's signal that they were ready. She took a deep breath, remembering her oath to protect her crew and the knowledge they carried. Target their primary weapons systems, she ordered. Fire. The Defiance released an invisible wave of concentrated gravitational force. Unlike conventional weapons, it didn't strike the high-layer vessel's shields, it passed through them as if they weren't there, directly affecting the matter beneath. Metal buckled and warped along the high-layer ship's starboard side as gravity itself became a weapon. On the Dominance, chaos erupted as critical systems failed. Commander Take was thrown to the floor as his ship shuddered violently. What was that? He shouted over blaring alarms. Unknown weapon type, his science officer replied, panic evident in his voice. It somehow distorted the gravitational field around our hull. Weapons systems disabled. Shield generators failing. For the first time in his military career, Take felt genuine fear. No species they had encountered possessed technology that could manipulate fundamental forces with such precision. Launch retaliatory strike with secondary weapons, he ordered. But before his crew could comply, the Defiance seemed to vanish from their sensors. Engineer Choi had activated the ship's prototype drive system, giving them a short burst of speed that conventional engines couldn't match. The human vessel reappeared in the high-layer ship's blind spot, where their remaining weapons couldn't target effectively. We have position advantage, Park announced to her crew. Security Officer Kong, status of the high-layer borders? Kang's voice came through the comm system, sounds of combat in the background. We have them contained in Cargo Bay 3, Captain. Athena has deployed electric barrier fields to prevent their escape. Good. Maintain position. Park turned to Officer Lee. Prepare a targeted strike on their engine section. We need to disable their ability to pursue without destroying the vessel completely. As the Defiance positioned for another attack, Athena alerted the bridge to an important discovery. Captain, I have accessed the high-layer vessel's database, the AI reported. They are a scout ship for the high-layer empire, a species that has conquered 12 solar systems in this sector. Their standard procedure is to capture new technology, reverse engineer it, and use it for further expansion. Park's eyes narrowed. So we're just another potential conquest to them. Correct. Their records indicate no peaceful first contact protocols. All encountered species are classified as either subjects or threats. This information hardened Park's resolve. She had hoped for peaceful contact with alien civilizations, humanity had dreamed of it for centuries. But now they faced a species that only understood strength. Engineer Choi, I need options, Park said into her communicator. The prototype drive can give us one more burst, Choi replied. After that, we'll be running on emergency power only. But I've found a way to modify our deflector array to emit a focused electromagnetic pulse. It won't penetrate their hull, but it might disrupt their remaining operational systems. Do it, Park ordered. The Defiance moved again, impossibly fast for a vessel its size. It positioned itself directly above the high-layer ship's command section. From this position, the human vessel released a concentrated pulse that passed through the weakened high-layer shields. Inside the Dominance, systems failed completely. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the bridge as Commander Take realized he had lost control of his vessel. All weapons offline, reported his tactical officer. Engines unresponsive. Communications limited to short range only. Take stared at the viewscreen, where the small human vessel now hovered in what could only be described as a position of dominance. He had underestimated them completely, and now his ship, one of the high-layer Empire's advanced scout vessels, lay helpless before what he had dismissed as primitive technology. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, they're hailing us again. Commander Take stared at Captain Park's face on his viewscreen. The human showed no fear, despite commanding a vessel much smaller than his own. His pride wanted to refuse communication, but with his ship's systems failing, he had little choice. This is Commander Take of the Haelor Empire. You have committed an act of war against our sovereign territory. Park's expression remained calm. Your vessel fired without provocation on a scientific exploration ship. We defended ourselves, as is our right. Before Take could respond, his communications officer interrupted. Sir, 3 Imperial vessels have responded to our distress call. They will arrive in less than 10 minutes. Relief washed over Take's scaled features. The human vessel had surprised him with its hidden capabilities, but it could not stand against 4 Haelor warships. Your temporary advantage is ending, he told Park. Surrender your vessel now, and the Empire may show mercy. On the Defiance, Park turned to her tactical officer after ending the transmission. 3 more hostile ships incoming. How long until they arrive? 9 minutes, Captain, Lee replied. All larger than the one we're facing now. Park nodded. Engineer Choi, report to the bridge immediately. Security Officer Kong, secure all Haelor prisoners in the containment field. The bridge crew worked with focused intensity. They had won the first battle through surprise and innovation, but the element of surprise was gone now. Engineer Choi arrived, her uniform stained with coolant fluid. Captain, we have maybe 20 minutes of power for the Aegis shield at current levels. The gravitational array needs 30 minutes to recharge after the last firing. Then we need something they won't expect, Park said. Athena, have you completed your analysis of Haelor sensor systems? The AI's voice responded promptly. Yes, Captain. Their primary detection grid operates on conventional electromagnetic spectrum. They have limited capability to track objects utilizing phase-shifted technology. Park's eyes lit up with an idea. Our stealth system. It's never been field-tested. It's incredibly risky, Choi warned. The power requirements are enormous, and the system is experimental at best. So was everything else that just saved our lives, Park replied. Prepare the stealth system. We'll disappear before their reinforcements arrive. In deep space, 3 Haelor battlecruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their massive hulls gleaming with weapons ports. On the lead vessel, Admiral Rock surveyed the situation with disdain. Commander Take was disabled by a single human vessel, he asked the communications officer who had briefed him. Yes, Admiral. He reports the human ship possesses technology beyond our intelligence estimates. Rock dismissed this with a wave of his clawed hand. Take is making excuses for his incompetence. Where is this miraculous human ship now? It should be visible on sensors. The officer trailed off, checking his readings again. That's strange. It was there a moment ago. Admiral Rock rose from his command chair, towering over his subordinate. Find it. Now. Aboard the Defiance, the bridge was bathed in dim blue emergency lighting. Most systems were powered down to minimize their energy signature. Engineer Choi monitored the experimental stealth system from her station. Stealth field holding at 80%, she whispered, though there was no need for quiet. They can't detect us unless they know exactly what to look for. Captain Park nodded. Now we wait for the right moment. The Defiance had activated its revolutionary stealth technology just minutes before the Haelor reinforcements arrived. The system didn't merely mask their energy signature, it bent light and other detectable radiation around the ship, rendering it virtually invisible. Admiral Rock's fleet surrounded the disabled Dominance, scanning the area repeatedly for the human vessel. This is unacceptable, Rock growled. No ship can simply vanish. His science officer worked frantically at his station. Admiral, we're detecting unusual gravitational microfluctuations in Sector 7. It could be. Before he could finish, alarms blared across the bridge. One of the Haelor vessels suddenly reported critical system failures across multiple decks. What's happening? Rock demanded. The tactical officer stared at his display in confusion. The Vigilant reports their internal systems are shutting down one by one. It matches the pattern reported by Commander Take. The Defiance had silently approached one of the Haelor ships, allowing Athena to interface with its computers. The AI replicated the same cyber attack that had crippled the Dominance. "One down," Park said quietly, watching the tactical display. "Engineer Choi, prepare for a micro-jump. We'll target the next vessel before they can locate us." Choi had modified the ship's experimental propulsion system for a series of short, controlled jumps that would confuse the Haelor sensors. "Ready for jump sequence, Captain. But this will strain our power reserves severely." "Execute jump," Park ordered. The Defiance disappeared and reappeared near the second Haelor vessel, close enough to deploy another targeted attack before vanishing again. Admiral Rock watched in mounting horror as another of his ships reported critical systems failure. The human vessel was picking them off one by one, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. "This is impossible," he shouted, slamming his fist on his command console. "No human technology could achieve this." His tactical officer looked up from his station, fear evident in his eyes. "Admiral, they're targeting us next. We've detected a momentary energy spike 3,000 kilometers off our port side." Rock made a decision that no Haelor commander had made in centuries of Imperial expansion. Evasive maneuvers. Full power to shields. But the Defiance had already moved to its next position. Captain Park stood on her bridge, watching the Haelor flagship attempt to flee. "They're running," Officer Lee noted with surprise. "They're learning," Park corrected him. "Athena, target their propulsion systems only. Let's make sure they can't follow us when we leave." As the Defiance prepared its final attack, Park reflected on what this encounter meant for humanity. They had just faced their first hostile alien species and proven they could defend themselves. But they had also revealed technologies meant to be kept secret. "The galaxy just got a lot more complicated," she murmured as the Defiance moved in for its final strike. Admiral Rock stood before the High Command Council, his proud shoulders now bent with shame. 7 elder Haelor leaders looked down at him from their elevated positions, their expressions revealing a mixture of disbelief and anger. "For vessels," spoke the eldest council member, her voice cutting through the silent chamber. "For advanced Haelor vessels neutralized by a single human ship." Rock kept his eyes lowered. "The human vessel possessed technologies we had not anticipated," exalted one. "Our intelligence on their capabilities was severely flawed." The council chamber fell silent as the elders processed this information. For 3 centuries, the Haelor Empire had expanded without meaningful resistance. Dozens of species had fallen before their technological superiority. The concept of defeat was almost foreign to them. "Show us the battle recordings," ordered another council member. The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, showing the small human vessel disappearing and reappearing at will, targeting critical systems with precision that suggested intimate knowledge of Haelor design. "They knew our weaknesses," whispered one of the younger council members. "How is this possible?" Meanwhile, across the sector, the CSV Defiance limped toward the rendezvous point where human reinforcements awaited. The ship had survived, but barely. Emergency repairs kept life support functioning, but many systems remained offline. Captain Park sat in the medical bay, wincing as the doctor treated a burn on her arm. "How many casualties?" she asked. 3 dead, 17 injured, the doctor replied. "It could have been much worse." Park nodded solemnly. Every life lost under her command weighed heavily on her conscience. "And our Haelor prisoners?" "Secure in the containment area. They've refused to communicate since we left the battle zone." The ship's intercom activated. "Captain," came Officer Lee's voice, "long-range sensors have detected multiple vessels at the rendezvous coordinates. They're ours." For the first time in days, Park allowed herself a small smile. "I'll be right there." When Park reached the bridge, the viewscreen showed a welcome sight. A fleet of human vessels had gathered, led by the massive dreadnought HSS Resolution. The ship was unlike anything humans had publicly acknowledged, possessing a true warship designed for deep space combat. "Incoming transmission from the Resolution," announced Communications Officer Bay. Admiral Yang's weathered face appeared on screen. "Captain Park. Your distress signal reached Earth Command 4 days ago. You've managed to stay alive longer than anyone expected. It's been challenging, Admiral, Park replied, mastering the art of understatement. Yang's expression remains serious. The Defiance's sensor logs have been transmitted to my vessel. The technologies you were forced to reveal, the Council is concerned. Park understood the implications. The Defiance had been part of a classified program, a testbed for experimental systems that humanity had developed in secret, preparing for the possibility of hostile first contact. Those secrets were now exposed. We had no choice, Admiral. No one is blaming you, Captain. But the situation has changed. We're now facing an expansionist empire that knows we've been hiding our true capabilities. Yang paused. The diplomatic corps is preparing for formal contact with the Haelor. We need to establish communication before this escalates further. In Haelor space, news of the defeat spread quickly despite official attempts to control the information. For the first time in living memory, Imperial vessels had been bested in combat. More concerning to the Empire's leadership was the realization that humans had been deliberately concealing their technological advancement. They've been watching us, concluded the head of Haelor intelligence in her report to the High Command. Possibly for decades. Learning our strategies, our weaknesses, while presenting a facade of primitive technology to the galaxy. The eldest council member leaned forward. What do we know about their true capabilities? Very little, admitted the intelligence director. The vessel that defeated Admiral Rock's fleet displayed at least 3 technologies we cannot replicate: targeted gravitational weapons, advanced stealth systems that defy our sensors, and some form of artificial intelligence that can penetrate our computer defenses. And their fleet size? Unknown. We've identified 7 major human colony worlds, but their production capabilities are difficult to assess. The council chamber grew quiet as the implications became clear. For centuries, the Haelor had classified other species as either threats to be eliminated or subjects to be conquered. Humans had just proven they couldn't be easily eliminated, which left only one option in traditional Haelor thinking. But the eldest council member was wiser than most. Perhaps, she said slowly, we need a third classification. 2 weeks later, Captain Park stood in her dress uniform aboard the neutral space station where the first official meeting between human and Haelor representatives would take place. Engineer Choi stood beside her, similarly attired. Do you think they'll agree to peace? Choi asked quietly as they waited for the Haelor delegation to arrive. Park watched as the airlock cycled. They're pragmatic. They won't start a war they aren't certain they can win. The doors opened to reveal 3 Haelor diplomats, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the station's lights. To Park's surprise, the eldest council member herself led the delegation. Captain Park Ji-won, she said, her translator converting the complex Haelor language to English. Your actions have forced a re-evaluation within our empire. For the first time in 500 years, we approach another species as equals rather than conquerors. Park bowed respectfully. Sometimes mistakes lead to understanding. Indeed, the elder replied. The Haelor Empire made a mistake attacking your vessel. A mistake we do not intend to repeat. As the formal negotiations began, Park realized that their encounter had changed the course of human history. Humanity had revealed itself as a power to be respected in the galaxy, and the Haelor Empire had discovered the limits of its hubris. The balance of power had shifted, all because a single ship had refused to be an easy conquest.